the Supreme Court declared as unconstitutional the 2005 joint maritime seismic undertaking deal between the Philippines, China, Vietnam in the South China Sea.
Chinese government says it is still keen on pursuing joint exploration activities with the Philippines after the Philippine Supreme Court voided the 2005 joint marine seismic undertaking among oil companies from the Philippines, China, and Vietnam.
Malaking impact nito para sa susunod na mga presidente kasi dapat sundin ng ibang bansa katulad ng China kung mag-joint exploration sila dito sa West Philippine Sea ang constitution natin.
We have to discuss some of the legal aspects of it and I think the central issue there is the difference between sovereignty and sovereign rights, and that what we are asking for are sovereign rights.
Beijing is still interested in joint explorations with Manila. That's after the Supreme Court ruled that the 2005 joint marine seismic undertaking agreement among China, Vietnam, and the Philippines was unconstitutional. What is the impact of the High Court's decision to future joint oil exploration deals? And will the territorial dispute that's nowhere near resolution always get in the way? We're discussing this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to the weekend edition of The Cheese. I'm at Lingao. With me in the studio, Roby Alampay of One News. And of course, online, we have Pamintuan, the editor-in-chief of the Philippine Star, and Luchi Cruz-Valdes, the head of News 5. Well, Chiefs, happy weekend.
Happy weekend.
Yeah.
Happy weekend.
Laki ng ngiti, di ba? Okay. Ami, Luchi, Roby, what are we looking at? What's a big story for today?
Well,
yung reorganization ng pulis, sabi ni Ben-Hur Avalos, hindi na daw papangalanan kapag yung mga matatanggal na because of links, suspected links to drugs, and they will be allowed out to just quietly retire.
To fade into the background, gano'n. So walang habulan.
Eh, medyo malabo, no? Kasi sabi niya, pag meron daw ebidensya, habulin nila. Pero kung hindi, kung suspicion lang, you will be quietly retired. Pero ewan ko, kung yung police, pwede ba yun? Di ba dapat for cause din, ano?
Oo, hindi. Tsaka, ang dami namang katanungan doon. Ibig sabihin, may suspecha kami na dawit ka sa droga, mag-retire ka na lang.
Oh, and you get benefits.
Tapos you get your benefits, pagkatapos walang accountability, wala nang kaso. Yun ang basically the deal. 'Di ba? So, on the other hand, kung ikaw naman yung
It's a good one.
But that's assuming that the officer is guilty. 'Di ba? Basically, walang due process to kasi on the other hand, kung ikaw naman yung nasa as to Ami's point nga, nasuspechahan ka lang, 'di ba? Parang and then with this statement may kasamang stigma. 'Di ba? Malinaw na you took this dahil nasuspechahan ka, wala ka ipagtatanggol, sige, kunin mo na lang yung pera.
Siyempre, titingnan ng mga tao kung sino yung mga matatanggalan, no? Kasi ilan lang daw yan eh. Diba?
Tsaka kahit hindi kasuhan, matatandaan pa rin natin lahat siya na hindi nag-submit, siguro guilty. Hindi mo matatanggal yun eh. Diba? And to be just allowed to quietly retire, quote-unquote, loaded din yun eh. Quietly retire. Diba?
Meron ka lang benefits nga, general siya, ang laki-laki ng sweldo, ang laki ng pension ng mga yan.
That's right.
Saya-saya rin nila.
But on the flip side kasi is if you don't have enough to pin them down beyond reasonable doubt, then well, you're stuck with them until they really retire.
That's true. I mean, the reality, knowing how things work or don't work in the Philippines is the reality, essentially you're saying, is that you don't always have the best the best options.
Yun yung original description ni Ben-Hur, di ba? It's a shortcut actually sa housekeeping in the PNP.
Kaya lang, parang nanunuot sa kultura yun eh. Nanunuot sa kultura ng ng pamahalaan, ng system. So, isa lang mabilis para na balita, medyo bad news babawasan ko na naman yung regados mo, Bok. Wala na tayong sibuyas, wala nang
Mahal ng itlog.
mahal ng itlog. Pagkatapos ngayon, yung mga isda, nagliliitan ng
Dried
isda.
fish.
So,
Dried fish din. Lahat na
almusal mo
lang,
talaga.
ano?
Anong tira, no? Kape na lang.
Wala nang danggit. Walang danggit.
Kape na lang, pero walang
Pero
asukal.
may relasyon yan sa topic natin, ano, yung mga isda, di ba?
Ayun, si Ami talaga.
Patitis.
Nakakahuli.
Tama.
Si Ami talaga.
Oh, ayan.
Bakit yung taga-Jari magaling mag-segue?
Segue, segue.
Okay. Well, we speak to our first guest. We speak to our first guest after a short breather. The Cheese will be right back.
Joint marine exploration agreement among the Philippines, Vietnam, and China cannot push through. Our Supreme Court has declared it unconstitutional and void. We now speak with maritime law expert Professor Jay Batongbacal. Good evening, Attorney Batongbacal. Welcome back to the Chiefs.
Happy New Year, Attorney Jay.
Hi, sir.
Nakamute ka pa po yata, Attorney.
Sorry. Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Okay, good evening. Sir, muna, i-set muna natin yung table. This pertains to a 2005 agreement pa. Panahon pa to ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Maybe bring us back, remind us, what was this joint agreement about? What was the area covered? And siguro, mahalaga din sa, when we talk about joint exploration, as it pertains to this agreement, is that a template definition? Is that does joint exploration here necessarily apply to every time we talk about joint exploration?
Well, okay, so just in 2004, 2005, this deal was struck initially between the Philippines and China, and then Vietnam protested, so Vietnam also joined it. So that's how it became a tripartite joint marine seismic undertaking. The idea was for the parties to jointly carry out exploration for petroleum resources in the area that we now call the West Philippine Sea.
Sir, bad word daw exploration, ha? Ayaw nilang tawagin exploration.
Parang
Naputol ba
naputol
siya?
yata. I think
Nawala
we lost.
si Attorney Jay.
Okay. Well, yun kasi yun ang point ng depensa ng respondents that it was actually pre-exploration.
Ayan ang tatanungin natin. Ano ba diferensya ng pre at exploration?
Kasi I remember may article si Ellen Tordesillas ng Verify, ang sabi niya, initially the agreement was supposed to be called Joint Marine Exploration. Pero umalma si then Justice Secretary Mercedes Gutierrez. Sabi ni Gutierrez, hindi pwede yan. The Constitution says na hindi pwedeng
Kasi pagka yung nag-explore kami, intent ka na eh.
So, ganito nila yung pangalan.
Anyway.
Kaya nga, seismic undertaking. Kayo naman, no?
Attorney Batongbacal, welcome back. Nakamute
Sir,
po yata kayo
sir.
ulit.
Yeah, sorry. Lost the connection. Yeah, so natuloy siya as a tripartite arrangement. No? But the problem was that the area covered by the tripartite arrangement was basically on the Philippine side. No? Mostly in Philippine claimed areas. Particularly, it covered most of what is described in PD 1596 as the area of the Calayan Island Group. And although initially, it was lauded as an example of cooperation between the disputing parties. A few years later, it was being denounced as a sellout. It became very, very controversial because there were accusations now that this was in exchange for some deals like the North Rail project and the ZTE NBN scandal. So it became mired in that. so that by the end of the original three-year term of the agreement, it was more palatable to just simply let it expire. No? So it was for 3 years. The work was done. During those 3 years, the parties wanted to extend it, wanted to renew the agreement, but because of the political controversy that it generated, hindi na lang natuloy. Okay, so as a result of the political controversy, groups on the case, the agreement before the Supreme Court. And from that time, 2007, 2008, it took that long for the decision to finally come out. And the decision is that the agreement is unconstitutional.
Sir, very basic question, sir. Meron ba tayong napala doon sa undertaking na yan? Kasi di ba may hatian yan ng trabaho eh. China, I think explore, yes. Vietnam, process, and Philippines interpret, if I got that right. Meron ba tayong napala doon o yung may napala talaga in China?
Well, that's another one of the unanswered questions because as a result of the exploration, parang ang wala tayong nakuhang advantage because the data supposedly was not good enough. That's why the parties wanted to extend it, no? So that's why they wanted to do more exploration in the Reed Bank area particularly. But then since that time, and this is now what raises suspicions, it was after that agreement that China began to press became more insistent on having joint exploration in the West Philippine Sea. So there are suspicions that it's because either they withheld data or they found something and they're not telling us completely what it is that they found. No? Kaya yun, no? Since that time, you could say that the Philippines, a lot of Filipinos and even within government have been suspicious of this type of arrangement because of that experience.
Now, this is... Go ahead, Luchi, sorry.
Yeah. So my question is this, no? Does this mean that moving forward, there can be no exploration whatsoever with any other foreign company unless that foreign company is an investor in the Philippines under the 60-40 constitutional arrangement as far as foreign ownership? Ganun ba yun? So in other words, no company here in the Philippines can partner with a foreign company that can explore unless it incorporates with a Philippine company on a 60-40 basis. Ganyan ba yan?
Hindi naman. And actually, that's one of the things that are still not clear, no? Because we need to wait for the full text of the decision to find out the answers, no? As a general rule right now, wholly owned foreign corporations are allowed to engage in exploration in the Philippines, no? For the simple fact that there is no Philippine company that can put up the amount of capital that is necessary for exploration, no? Exploration is a very risky and capital-intensive venture, no? For example, before Malampaya was discovered, Shell had already spent more than $100 million just drilling for petroleum resources and finding nothing. No, they found nothing despite all of that. No, and they had to buy somebody else's contract, the contract of Oxy, no, in order to be able to recoup their losses essentially. No, so. From what I understand, most of the companies that have been allowed to explore in the Philippines, not just in EEZ or continental shelf areas, but even in internal waters, a lot of them are wholly owned foreign corporations or foreign companies. It's simply that fact. No?
Oh, so what makes this different? Is it because we're dealing with a government-owned corporation, halimbawa CNOOC in the case of China, and Petro Vietnam in the case of Vietnam, yun ba yun?
Well,
kasi yun na nga. Yeah,
that's the thing that we really need to be able to clarify from the full text of the decision, no? Because it seems that the press release focuses on two things: full control and supervision, and the 60-40 rule. Yung full control and supervision, it's not clear from the press release how they arrived at that conclusion that it was not under the full control and supervision of the state, but it might be surmised from the fact that they mentioned that there were no safeguards in the JMSU. It might be because on its face, the JMSU being a tripartite agreement implies that control is divided equally between three parties. No? So at this point, we don't know. But that seems to be what is implied in the press release. Yung 60-40 naman, there was that mention that it was being undertaken by companies that were not 60% Filipino-owned. No? So we have to be, we have to clarify that from what should be a more detailed decision from the Supreme Court. Kasi nga, the negative implication is that these restrictions might apply not only to China and China, but also to other companies which we have already been dealing with in the past.
Sinabi na nga ng Chinese government, they're still interested in joint explorations with the Philippines. So under what circumstances kaya pwede mangyari yun? Kasi meron din mga nagsasabi na kung may joint exploration, actually, depending on the wording of the agreement, it will actually acknowledge our sovereign rights over certain areas of the West Philippine Sea. Merong ganyang argument So ano kaya ang pwedeng mangyari? What's feasible for us, for our national interest?
Well, I think number one, of course, we have to accept the fact that we do not have enough capital and technology available to devote to petroleum exploration. No? Kumbaga, to do that, you have to be prepared to throw away like 90% of the money that you will be setting aside because you have only 1 in 10 chances of finding anything, and then even if you find anything, another 1 in 10 chances of it actually being profitable, or viable as a project. We can't risk and lose that much money on this now, given all the other demands of the country. Second, when you say joint activity, joint exploration, it could simply be having a partner. The fact that there are two entities involved in a common undertaking, but the terms by which that partnership is carried out, say who has ultimate control, who has the final say, how they will divide the costs, the resources, that can still be subject of negotiations. So probably that is the one that can be explored further down the road. But the point is, whatever it is that we agree upon, the Supreme Court has made it clear that there are certain limits to what we can agree upon. And right now, it's that element of full control and supervision and the 60-40 requirements. How those requirements are going to be complied with, that's what we need clarity from the full text of the decision now.
Yeah, Attorney, gaya nga ng sabi niyo, not just complied with, but also how it is defined. So we want to drill down on this line and this concept of full supervision and control. As you said, inaantay pa natin yung full decision. You're eager to see that. But are there any other cases that set out that comes close to helping us to understand what exactly does that mean?
There are actually, particularly when it comes to service contracts. There's the case of Labugan-Bilaan versus Executive Secretary. That one deals with mining contracts. However, the mining contract that was questioned, the terms and conditions were based on the service contract for petroleum. And in that case, the Supreme Court accepted that the exploitation of petroleum, mineral, and mineral oils may be undertaken by 100% foreign-owned companies, as long as they were under the full control and supervision of the state. So kung pwede yun sa minerals, then logically, since it was based on a petroleum service contract, then baka pwede rin yun for service contracts that will be entered into in the future. The second one was the one of JAPEX. This is the one of resident marine mammals, the resident marine mammals case. That one naman simply added on the requirement that the contract must be signed by the president. But at the same time, since it concerned a service contract in the Tanyon Strait, it basically reiterated or invoked the Labugal-Bilaan case and applied it now to a petroleum service contract, no? By implication. So, yun yung gusto ko makita, no? How this decision either incorporates or reaffirms or possibly even rejects those previous decisions.
Yeah.
Kasi parang if you go by the previous jurisprudence, then mukhang there are some openings by which this can be done. But
Pero,
if
sir,
this case actually reverses those decisions, then that makes it even more difficult to envision an arrangement between the Philippines and
Yes,
China.
exactly.
on this.
But attorney, how much more complicated does it get when you deal with state-owned corporations in this particular case of China? Diba? Kasi ito nga, yung sa joint exploration lang, dun sa 3 years na experience natin, we didn't even get the data. Diba? we didn't even get, the only product there was knowledge. We didn't even get that much. Now we're talking about full control supervision of if these are state-owned corporations. You imagine China treating those ships and those equipment as matters of national security. So how much more complicated, if not in fact unviable, does it get when you start dealing with a state like China?
Well, definitely it can get practically impossible, no? But that depends now on how we position ourselves in negotiations. Whether, and even our negotiating posture, di ba? I mean, if you're gonna go there with the idea na wala kang magagawa, no? Na mahina tayo, that we cannot demand anything, what under the previous administration was doing, no? And what supporters of the previous administration were basically saying, parang dapat manglilimos na lang tayo dun sa mas malakas. If it's like that, then wala ka talaga maasahan. But if you go in there with knowing your strengths, basically, as a negotiator, no? Knowing what is behind you, and particularly marshalling the support of the international community behind your positions, then you can negotiate a better deal, especially if your negotiating panel is very well prepared. It can marshal all the facts and arguments, and it knows how to deploy its strengths and avoid its weaknesses. That's really the only way, no? To do this. So you have to be smart as well, knowing those challenges and pitfalls of dealing with a state-owned oil company here in this particular instance, no? Then you have to be prepared for that as well when you negotiate and when you strike deals, when you come up with arrangements on how to do this very highly technical project.
Sir, I'm reading
So,
Article 12, Section
Yeah,
2
go
of
ahead,
the
Ed.
Constitution. It says here, the state may undertake yung exploration nga and development, or it may enter into co-prod, joint venture, production agreements with Filipinos, of course, or corporations at least 60% of whose capital is owned by such citizens. So may requirement nga ng 60%. However, three lines down, may isa pang that appears to contradict or appears to conflict with that section. The President may enter into agreements with foreign-owned corporations involving either technical or financial assistance for large-scale exploration, development, and utilization of minerals, petroleum, and other mineral oils according to the general terms and conditions provided by law. So parang hindi siya nagtutugma yung dalawa. That last line appears to give the President authority to go into an agreement with foreign-owned corporations for technical or financial assistance for exploration, development, etc., of minerals, petroleum. Versus yung 60%.
That is what we call the FTAA clause, no? And precisely in the Labugal-Bilaan case, the distinction between the two paragraphs is what the Supreme Court used to hold that it is possible for 100% foreign-owned corporations to undertake these activities in the case of petroleum, minerals, and mineral oils. Parang sineperate siya from other natural resources which are covered naman by the previous paragraph. And so the 60-40 can apply to those other resources. But when it comes to petroleum, minerals, and mineral oils, may special case siya, no? So that's why I said, no, I'm curious to know. It's very important for us to find out how this latest decision affects those previous rulings of the court.
Attorney,
Okay.
yung kasi we're out of time now. President Marcos just arrived from a state visit to China. Sabi niya, wish me luck. Mukhang he raised the issue of our fishermen, nabanggit namin kanina, of our fishermen na hinaharang nga ng mga yung swarms ng mga Chinese. Anong assessment mo sa na-achieve niya in his state visit?
Well, as usual, no, when you have state visits, you have pledges and promises and a lot of rhetoric, no? But you can't really tell the results until much later, no? So ngayon, with respect to fishermen, I've been reading that there were supposedly proposals made, for example, for China to have cooperative agreements with local fishermen.
Philippine villages.
Okay, it's nice to hear. It seems like it's a feather in his cap to bring home. Nagkaroon sila ng magandang usapan. But let's see how it is supposed to work out in implementation, because, of course, you'll have that suspicion na naman that that might be used as an excuse to legitimize their presence in our waters. Yun precisely yung root ng problem in the first place, no? So sa ngayon, let's chalk it up to, okay, it's a good show. It was a successful diplomatic activity, but the results, the jury is still out on the actual results and whether it's actually good or bad for us.
Okay, Attorney Jay Batongbacal. Sir, maraming salamat po.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Thanks, sir.
sir.
Okay, welcome, Chiefs, and good evening to everyone again.
And we will start up another conversation after this break. Keep it here on One News.
Then President Bongbong Marcos will pitch the Maharlika Investment Fund to the world stage. The proposed sovereign wealth fund will be soft launched by the president during his attendance at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. But will the issue on the Swiss accounts of the Marcos family be revived during the president's trip to Davos next week? The DFA says that's unlikely to happen.
None of those mechanisms have been triggered by the Swiss government or anything, so we don't know, we don't expect anything. I don't think it's an issue.
President Bongbong Marcos is eyeing a soft launch of the Maharlika Investment Fund at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. That's even if the Senate is yet to tackle the controversial measure. Let's bring in public policy professor Roland Simbulan. Sir, magandang gabi. Professor Simbulan is also the vice chairman of the Center for People's Empowerment in Governance, or CENPEG. Sir, magandang gabi and welcome to the Chiefs.
Hindi, Professor.
Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi sa inyong lahat.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for joining us tonight. Sir, mukhang itutuluyan itong Maharlika Investment Fund at magsa-soft launch na nga ang Pangulo dun sa Switzerland. Well, the Senate is supposed to begin deliberations on that this month, pero at least at outset, mukhang lumalambot o nagsasoften yung initial opposition ng Senado dito sa Maharlika. Your view, sir, do you think that the Senate is going to pass this bill or is it still going to oppose it?
Well, I think eventually the Senate is going to pass this bill, no? Given the numbers of the senators who are supporting the administration. No? So eventually, I think, but although I would say that the plan of President Marcos Jr. to bring this up in the Davos Forum, which he plans to attend, I think it's premature, to bring this up, and it might even cause us some kind of embarrassment, because the
Why does he even, actually, sir, why does he even need to present that at the World Economic Forum? That's, why is he making a pitch there, if I may, when actually the funds will be sourced internally, right? What is there, what is in it for the participants in the WEC that he would have to pitch it there?
Well, first of all, the purpose of the Davos Forum is really to discuss economic issues of a global scale, no? which affect many countries. And this is precisely why this is not just a meeting among government leaders, no? But also from people from the largest corporations in the world. No? So it's supposed to be a meeting of minds between those who hold leadership in their respective states, as well as private corporations operating in several countries. So I think because right now the tone of the Davos Forum is being presented, I think they want to discuss on top of their agenda the problems of inflation, which is affecting many countries today, including the most industrialized ones, plus the cost of living, which is also connected with inflation. I think these are the two big issues. Now, I am not sure who or why the President Bongbong Marcos decided, or at least that's how he's announcing it, that he's going to bring, have some kind of a soft launching, quote unquote, of the Maharlika Fund, because it, as I said, it might just be an embarrassing situation because we cannot contribute something to the discussion related to how we are solving inflation and even cost of living. I mean, even the very basic commodities like onions have gone up, and we have to import many of these agricultural products. I think for lack of any contribution to the global discussion by world's leaders, I think some of our economic advisors told him or advised him to present this, or set some kind of tone in the discussion.
Could it be
Mr.
a show
Simbulan, how
of
about this,
bravado
yeah.
in order to get investors to come to the Philippines? And if so, is that effective to be able to say that we have a sovereign wealth fund here, so you can come and invest? Is that an attractive?
If that's the purpose, actually, it's self-contradictory because the sovereign fund is supposed to be, a mechanism for finding profitable investments outside of our country.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking.
Our purpose is to attract investors here. You have to show that you have enough confidence to invest in your own economy. And that's why I find it very self-contradictory. If they're going to bring this up, it might only cause us a lot of embarrassment, and secondly, also because many countries, those who will be there are leaders, governments and corporations. They know the situation in the Philippines, that we have a lot of debt. We have how much? 13.64 trillion peso debt, and yet we are so daring to put the money, little money that we have, and considering that we are, they want to tap us funds, some of the funds in our government banks. No, I mean it's as I said, it's embarrassing if we use this, because many of these people there in Davos know that the world economy right now is not a good, not exactly a good place where you can invest and make profits.
Ayun ang matatanong ko, Professor. Kasi kung soft launch siya, talagang premature, ano? On the other hand, may mga naririnig ako ngayon ng mga ugong na para magiging consultation siya. Kasi marami dyan sa mga bansa na yan, they have their own sovereign wealth funds. And last year, marami sa kanila nalugi, no?
Yes.
So, kung gano'n ang pagkaka-frame ng presentation, by way of, well, on one hand, mape-pressure mo siguro ng konti yung Senado, pasan na yan, but on the other, sasabihin din, nagkukonsulta lang naman kami kung experience ng iba. Kung gano'n ang presentation, anong pwede naman yon?
I think ang mangyayari dito kung i-consult niya sa mga bansang yan, dahil alam naman nila na halimbawa importer tayo ng langis, no, gasolina, and now even other agricultural products, no. Sa record and history of countries that have been involved in what they refer to as sovereign funds, no, like Norway and also American states like Alaska, no, and of course yung neighbor natin. Usually itong mga bansang ito, tsaka of course yung mga Middle East countries, itong mga bansang ito, ang ini-invest nila sa ganyan, yung sobrang ano nila, no, surplus capital nila, o kasi meron silang oil, no, meron silang so much oil resources, and hindi nila alam kung saan nila ipaparada ito, no. So dahil sobra ito, gusto nilang ilagay sa isang investment outside their country, which may earn them money. Of course, alam nila may risk ito, no? May risk ito ganitong class investment, lalo na ngayon sa panahon ito, very unstable, especially we are still not safe from the COVID-19 pandemic, no? Meron pang mga bagong viruses na lumilitaw, and the past few years, yung mga nag-invest sa sovereign funds, nalugi. No, malaki ang nawala sa ano nila. Imagine if wala tayong extra funds katulad nila, tapos i-invest pa natin yung pera ng ating mga government banks, no? Na normally ito depositories ng national budget natin, yung pera ng ano natin nandiyan, no? Gobyerno at saka lalo na salaries ng mga ng ating mga empleyado, no. So talagang very risky, and it's going to.
And Mr. Simbulan, you've been talking about the risk for President Marcos in this trip to Davos. Pero sige, pag-usapan pa rin natin yung sovereign wealth fund, but by way of bringing it back here, let's talk about still the Maharlika Fund, but let's talk about the risk back here at home. Kasi we saw the outcry when we were still kasama pa ang SSS, GSIS contributions dyan, tinanggal. You now have Congress fully behind this. If we're reading it right, President Marcos has full confidence that this will sail through the Senate as well. May natitira pa po bang political risk for President Marcos back here at home with regards to pushing this the passage of this law to create the wealth fund, especially given that, beyond the SSS and the GSIS, maybe some people can understand, but at the same time it's really rather a nebulous concept still for a lot of people.
Ano kasi dito, parang yung despite the fact that the president has recruited yung top-notch economic advisors, no, in this economic team. But I'm sorry to say that they're not exactly giving the right advice to the president. No, given our economic situation, no, parang pinangungunahan dito yung politics, no, especially ng mga allies and relatives of the president who are in government. And I'm sorry to say that economic advisors many of whom come from UP, no, mga colleagues ko, are not exactly giving the right advice to the president. At pinapabayaan nilang mangibabaw itong mga relatives and allies of the president.
Ibang Sentral naman medyo nagpigil. Kaya lang mukhang na-overrule na siya.
Wala rin,
Yeah, he was preventing, he was opposing the use of reserves of the Bangko Sentral, pero ngayon parang humihina na eh. You think magbabago pa yung posisyon?
Sana. I would have expected more from our economic team, no, that has been harnessed by the president, no. Kung i-compare natin ito sa nangyari dun sa time ni former President Duterte, kasi nung una binabandila niya yung federalismo, no, di ba? Bilang platform niya. Pero later, when they were already in power, at least yung economic team niya advised him, no? Na talagang magbo-bloat yung budget natin. Mauubos yung pera natin kung we form, kung i-implement itong tinutulak nilang federal type of government natin, we will be creating multiple bureaucracies, no, in each region of the country. And it will deplete our resources, no. And I think this is the reason why eventually tumigil ang presidente at tumigil ang former administration in pushing this, no, federal government proposal. Now, ganito rin ito, yung sitwasyon na ito. Dapat talaga itong economic team na ito should not just be following orders, no, or playing the role of foot soldiers, no. But I think given their position as technocrats, tapos they are respected economists kilala sila sa international community, and probably that's why they were appointed there. So pwede silang iharap para kumirap ng pera, no? May credibility sila no, para i-manage itong natin. Pero sa mga ganitong bagay where our economy is at stake, no, given our problems right now, especially economic nature, dapat talagang nag-a-assert sila ng at wag nilang pabayaan na itong mga political decisions ng relatives and allies of the president who are pushing for these things that
Pero one of the biggest is si Ben Jokno mismo eh. One of the biggest endorsers. I don't think
he's gonna head the Maharlika Fund.
Mukhang siya yung mag-head nung
Siya mag-head nun, di ba?
Para sa akin, they're playing the role of foot soldiers, good foot soldiers. No, hindi nila ina-assert yung nararapat, no, what they really or what is really evidence-based. Kasi kung ang talaga na evidence-based policies talaga, no, I think and they push hard enough. I think they can put sense to some of our political leaders, no. Kung ano-ano na lang. Kasi contradictory. As I said kanina, especially at this time, we are trying to revive our economic to invite foreign investors here, no. Tapos makikita nila itong budget mo na kailangan mo talaga kailangan mong gamitin para sa priorities mo. itataya mo pa sa labas, no? Where anong yun? And outside the country is also an unstable situation. No? Okay,
Sir, ako yung tanong ko. Yeah, yes, sir. Ito nga aside from, putting aside the Maharlika Fund soft launch plan, what's in it for the Philippines that our president will have to attend the WEC, considering, for example, that he's the only Southeast Asian leader who will be attending it. And it's going to be his 8th trip outside of the country. No, is it really that important that he would make his presence felt at the WEC? What benefit do we stand to gain by him being there?
I think one reason why he wants to maximize foreign trips, no, is to meet other leaders as well as itong some of the biggest executives for corporations all over the world, so that supposedly they can be invited to invest in the Philippines, no, and do business here, as well as sa government side naman, para magpautang siguro sa Pilipinas, no, because right now kasama ito sa mga objectives ng foreign trips ng president. So especially in a big gathering like that, no, nandyan lahat sila. So at one given place, they're all there, both the economic leaders as well as state leaders of the biggest countries in the world. So it could be a good opportunity to try to invite them collectively to do business in the Philippines. I think that's the purpose, the main purpose.
Sir, you mentioned yung mga priorities na it's ironic that he will be talking about this. In the meantime, there are other priorities to attend to back here in the country. So let's bring it back here. Cambio lang ng konti. Mataas pa rin ang presyo ng lahat ng mga bilihin, pagkain, inflation is still very high, and he remains the Agriculture Secretary. How does he get himself out of this corner that he painted himself into by taking on that portfolio concurrent with everything he has to do as president? And do you think that he may politically pay a price if he doesn't find a way out of this crisis?
Well, it will always come to that, no? Because yun nga, especially, of course, I may be a bit late to say this, but alam na natin nung campaign period pa lang, no? There were already signs, indications regarding the character of the president, no? Weaknesses niya, and based on his personal history. And of course, ito ngayong dahil nakaupo na ngayon, no, at lumalabas itong lapses na ito sa when it comes to the traits that we expect of a leader, no. So merong yun nga dito, katulad dito sa mga appointments that has affected our forces, no. Despite the fact that meron ngang batas, no, meron ngang batas na pinasa yung Kongreso, pero nagkaroon pa rin ng siguro dahil sa paglalabi ng ilang mga supporters, no, especially kasama na dyan yung former Executive Secretary, si Attorney Rodriguez. So, parang pendulum yung decision making, and I hope that's why I hope that the people who are advising him, especially key advisors niya sa economic team niya, would really try to assert themselves rather than just follow orders, no, from the political leaders.
That pendulum in decision making and leadership style, however you want to characterize it, do you think what's going on right now in the military is also a symptom of his leadership, or is there something else? Is there any other dynamic and other factors that you think is playing into this leadership confusion in the armed forces?
Yeah, because if for example, a leader is not that strong, no, you can easily be moved, or you can shift your decisions back and forth, no, depending on who is closest to that leader, and especially when it creates katulad ng nangyayari sa armed forces natin, kasi nga imagine dapat nga patatag yung dito dahil magkaklase naman sila itong mga generals na involved, pero ang ginawa yung dapat kasi ilang na lang, no, itong si Centino, no, General Centino, no, ilang buwan na lang sana bago mag-retire. Retireable na sana siya February 4, no. Pero pinalitan na siya kaagad, no. At itong pumalit sa kanya si General naman was supposed to retire just a month after he was appointed Chief of Staff. Meanwhile, General Centino naman, na 4-star general, para siyang hindi naman siya pwedeng forced to, he could not be forced to retire. I think that was their intention in offering him the ambassadorship to India, which he refused. Nakaparada lang siya, 4-star general, and hinihintay niya yung retirement niya, no? And things like this cause insecurity and unfortunately schism within the armed forces. Dapat nga malakas ang camaraderie nila dahil magkaklase yan. They're the same class 89. So it has really ruffled the military kasi kung yun nga, kasi nga ito nga what complicated it even more was the fact that we have this new law still to be implemented, yung Republic Act 1109, which was supposed to fix the term for the AFP Chief of Staff for 3 years, as well as several key positions, no, including yung Vice Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff, pati yung mga commanding generals, no, ng services, no. But it has caused really a lot of I would say demoralization, no, in the ranks.
Okay. Well, Professor Simbulan, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Professor.
Salamat, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Salamat po. Maraming salamat.
Professor Roland Simbulan is Vice Chairman of the Center for People's Empowerment in Governance, or CENPEG. And that is it for the Chiefs. We hope what was discussed will keep the conversation going. Ako po si Roby Alampay.
I'm Mami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Luchi Cruz-Valdes of News 5.
I'm Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.